So I have with me Mr. Oluwake, and I have a question to ask you, sir. Why did you decide to partner with the Diocese of Lagos Mainland?
For the club, to take that decision because I was in conversation with the president of Stationery Stores Football Club, and the reasoning actually say two or threefold. One is that we are having a lot of young people who have talent, and it's good to give them a platform, to exhibit that talent. Okay. Secondly, when you provide such a platform, you take some of these young people away from other things that could be negative, because you are now giving you are giving them a platform to exhibit their talent, so their focus will be there and they will not be inclined, to being dragged into doing negative things, and antisocial conduct. So those are two very strong reasons why this partnership, has come.
I would like to know what is the bigger goal at the end, aside from curbing, bad behavior into society and helping the youth. What exactly is the bigger goal? Is it? Would you like to have? I don't want to impose, but I'd like to know the bigger goal.
The bigger goal, of course, will be when we say the bigger goal, there are two parties involved. You have the Diocese of Lagos Mainland, and you have Stationery Stores Football Club. So the bigger goal, I'm sure, for the Diocese is to provide this platform to show that it has the interests of young people at heart, boys, and maybe later on also a platform for girls to also play. For Stationery Stores Football Club, perhaps we may get young players who can join the club. Okay, the club is open to that possibility, which means that if we find players that are good enough, they can be part of. They can wear this jersey for Stationery Stores next season, which is starting in a few months, and they will become Stationery Stores players. And don't forget, because many young people today may not know about Stationery Stores, it's one of the most successful football clubs in the history of Nigeria. Today, it is the oldest surviving football club in Nigeria. Stationery Stores was the first Nigerian club to play in a continental competition, the CAF competition, 1968. It was the first club in Nigeria to play a CAF competition. And in 1981, Stationery Stores won the silver medal in the African Cup Winners' Cup, which is now called the CAF Confederations Cup. It won the it won the National FA Cup 4 times. It won the Lagos State FA Cup 12 times. You know, so you can see the pedigree of Stationery Stores Football Club. So for any young player who emerges from this competition and maybe gets an opportunity to wear the Stores jersey, it will be a very big honor, both for the player, for the church, and for Stationery Stores.
Thank you so much. But before you go, I just have one more question before you leave. Usually, we have players in different social groups and all of that. Why? What do you think about football in church, like catching them young in church? What do you think about it? Do you think it's going to, derail them from, normally we have this path in Nigeria where you go to school, you don't really do any extracurricular activities. You probably just go to school. You want to study medicine. It's just very rigid, right? So, what would you like to say to parents that are watching this in the church as well? Sunday school teachers, vicars, reverends, pastors, even people that are even not in the Anglican communion. What would you like to say to them about their youngsters and catching them young for football?
The truth is that today in the country, religious bodies have assumed a very big role. When we were growing up, they had that role as well. But I think today, because of the increase in our population and the influence that religious bodies have, it has become necessary for religious bodies to take on some responsibility that ordinarily would have been left to the state, right? For example, it used to be the various state governments through their sports councils that used to recruit us when I was young to do sports. But you will find that today, most of these sports councils are not as equipped as several decades ago. Secondly, they are dealing with a population that is far bigger than it was when we were growing up. So every opportunity that other stakeholders can take to help develop talent, is very welcome. And this is where I commend the role of the Anglican Communion. Now, for parents, it's important to allow children to also engage in what we call extracurricular activity. You can't just keep studying and not do anything else. And if parents don't allow them, these children will in any case they will sneak out and they may not concentrate. So it's better to know that a platform exists and for parents to support them, to encourage them, because they need a social support system. If a child eventually decides to be a professional sports person, he or she is going to need the parents as a support system, because in your sporting career there are times you will do well, there are times you will not do well, like in everything else. And at that particular time when you are doing well, you need some people around you to keep you grounded. And when you are not doing well, you also need people around you to encourage you and to strengthen you. So it's very important for parents to provide this support.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We're really grateful. Thank you for
My
the interview.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, sir. Bye bye. All right, sir. We would like to know why you decided to collaborate with Stationery Stores FC. Out of every other person, out of every other group, why did you decide to?
Well, Mr. Tiliwa Bajo, the president of Stationery Stores, we're childhood friends. We're choristers at the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, Lagos. So when we wanted to do this in the diocese, so that was the easiest option to go for. So for guidance and also for inspiration for the younger ones. I hope that okay, something might come out of this if they do it very well. So that's it.
All right, so I would like to know the aim of this project. What is that bigger picture you are looking for? What do you want to achieve from this?
Well, firstly, for each of those who will participate, it might be a way for us to discover the talents that they have. In which case, it will help to focus them, and maybe if we find the younger the better, those who are talented and their skills can be developed, then perhaps through football they can be of service to the nation and to themselves. And then, of course, the diocese can be agency, get agents fees. So that's part of it. The other bit I was looking for really was for uh, as a public relations exercise for the Diocese of Lagos Mainland. Uh, Through it, if it's by God's grace successful, then people will know that the diocese exists, not just in Nigeria, but even internationally, because that is very important to me. We are one of the smallest dioceses in the Church of Nigeria. We just have the name Lagos there, and people assume that we are as big as Lagos West or Lagos proper, Lagos diocese proper, but we are not. We are very small, and we are hemmed in on every side. So there's no mode for expansion, no room for um, growth, so to speak. But through this, if we get the required attention or recognition outside, then it will help the diocese, and I believe it will improve the psyche of members of the diocese.
All right, sir. So one more question before you leave. Now, we've heard success stories of players. They would say stuff like their parents did not support them, they did not get the support of their community. So I would like you to speak to parents that are watching this, and they know that their children have, a thing for football. What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that the parents, in a way, are correct, because the lifetime of a footballer really is, he cannot play beyond 35, 36, really, if you're talking about professional football. So the question now is, what do you fall back on for the rest of your life? If you've only played football and you've had no basic education, no professional education. So the concerns of parents are legitimate. What it is, in those big clubs like in the UK that I know about, more familiar with, is that when they have these football academies, what they do is make sure that those football academies attached to them are schools. So those young players, when you say player signs at 13 or whatever it is, he's still attending school. He's still taking the exams that he needs to take, only that football also becomes a prominent part of his life. But he's going to school. And some football players, okay, even in Nigeria, we talk about somebody like Adoke Emesemaka, who was named Chief Justice. Of course, he was a lawyer, and others like that. So the education bit, they shouldn't forget, even as much as you. And some decide that, okay, fine, they do the basic education, and then at the same time as they play, they also do their coaching exams, courses, and stuff, so that even after football, then they can have a life in football by coaching other teams and stuff like that. So you won't find a coach in England, for instance, who hasn't been awarded coaching badge, different categories. So at least they are preparing for a life after football. So when a child wants to play football, forgetting other things, then the parents rightly have a right to be worried. So you have to, and then of course in those days when we were growing up, when much younger, uh, football in Nigeria was still very much amateur football, not professional. And then even now, when you talk about professional, personally, I don't hear of those professional matches. So there's still a problem in Nigeria where most of us are supporting clubs overseas, like for instance, Manchester United and all that. In those days, even in the amateur days, the rivalry between Enugu Rangers, IRCC Shooting Stars, Stationery, those clubs were there, but we don't hear much about them. So there's a problem in Nigeria. So any child that wants to face football alone, the parent is going to be afraid that, no, what is the future? So that's the question. To secure your future is going to school. So I don't blame the parents, but they should understand, allow the children to play, but the children too must also give time to their studies.
I know I said that was the last one. Please, this one is very important as well because you mentioned that females are now into football. But then I watched an interview of recent and I saw that they were complaining that they do not get the attention, they do not get the money that male footballers get. So I do you think this would not allow females like myself to want to go into this male dominated space because we already know that it's male dominated and it's not going to be easy to shine as a female? What would you like to say about that?
It's difficult. Even again, an interview I listened to on CNN yesterday about the upcoming Women's World Cup. I know that there were arguments with FIFA and those for broadcast rights, how much countries were prepared to pay was not as encouraging as when it comes to the um, male football tournaments and stuff. So it's going to take some more time, but then it is sponsors who will do that. So it's male dominated, but females are making a headway in it. Again, they should not do so to the detriment of their studies, because after football, there is going to be need to continue to fend for yourself and all that. So we could just continue to pray. Maybe not in this day and age, but maybe later. But definitely, I remember my first football match I stumbled up, female football match I stumbled upon. I put on the telly, and I was sitting there far away from the telly eating my food, and the sounds I kept on hearing, and I was wondering what is going on. So, so you know, so I had to go close and watch. Look at this. Oh, it's female women playing. So it was very funny. I'll never forget. It was the sounds coming from the TV. So I just wondered, what was the microphone doing so close to the pitch, and you could hear those female voices. Wondering. So, but they've come a long way from that, and a lot of female football players or teams are quite skillful, and it just depends on their encouragement and sponsors ready to pay. The market is there, but sponsors need to. But in Nigeria, whether for the male or for the female.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. All right, sir. We have come to the end of the draw. We have come to the end of the draw organized by the Diocese of Lagos Mainland and of course Stationery Stores FC. We had a very successful event and we thank God for that. And we also thank our guests, our sponsors. Thank you so very much for gracing the event, and also players and also all the guests that came to grace the occasion. It was an amazing event and we cannot wait to see as events unfold. Now there are plans being put in place. There are plans that have been put in place to ensure that all the players do not lack the necessary things that they need. And we look forward to the advancement. We look forward to what the great things that they will do in the football field that would bring glory to God and of course to the Diocese of Lagos Mainland. Thank you so very much for coming on this journey with us. My name is Koyinsola Olukoya and I'll see you next time. Bye. Can I go?